Boy, I'm looking. Sorry, Lexi. You look at that middle fucking camera.
Yeah.
That fucking light came blaring in, so I look like fucking God. Hey, everybody. I'm Eric Oberembt, and you're listening to Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. We talk about real shit, what's on our minds, and don't give a fuck if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. So sit back, strap in, and get ready for some real shit. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberembt. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for another episode. I'm really excited today. This was a long time coming. This guy and I have been going back and forth for a little while, trying to figure out when we could get together, when we could talk. And then all of a sudden I had like multiple people say, "Hey, dipshit, why haven't you had Jacob on yet?" And I was like, I don't fucking know. Why haven't I had Jacob on yet? So today we are going to get to learn about Jacob Guidry. Jacob, thanks for being here, buddy.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for having me, man. It's been a little bit of time we've been talking.
We've kind of went back and forth a little bit and just kind of bullshitted, online and whatnot. Yeah. And then it turns out we've got a ton of mutual, buddies that, we've done stuff together with and whatever. And just for whatever reason, we hadn't got the opportunity to connect, right? Yeah. But then we see each other at events, right?
All
we just randomly run into each other at a fucking wedding and a, whatever. And that was quite the event.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. You talking about the wedding up
at
north?
T's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
T's wedding. And that was, the charcuterie board, just the charcuterie table.
Right. And that was all Kevin.
Oh, dude, Kevin did a great job.
That fucking guy.
Everything he cooks, I haven't had one bad thing from Kevin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but besides that, like the flowers, there was more real flowers there than I think in 40 different yards.
And for people that don't know who we're talking about, you've all seen the interview that we did with T.W. Mock and his wife Tanya. They did a renewal ceremony about a year ago. I think it was about a year and a half ago, something like that. And just an amazing event.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of fun. But what's fun about those things is we meet people in the industry, right? Yeah. And then we don't realize who down the road we're going to end up like really connecting with.
That's the truth. Oh man, that's the truth. And then you might connect with somebody and you really shouldn't have. So.
And you shouldn't have. Yeah. We were kind of talking about that earlier as well. It's been an interesting deal. But so I ran into Daniel Rabowski, and he was the one that was really in my ear that was like, you need to get to know Jacob a little bit better. And what got me to be like, I need to know this guy was because of the thing that I didn't know about you was he looked at me because we were talking about scuba diving and we were talking about skydiving. And he was like, that big motherfucker used to jump out of planes. And he's like, I was like, how many goddamn parachutes did they have to fucking give you?
Man, look, you join the Army and like we call it super hua, right? So you find these avenues where I've always been the thrill seeking guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Played football. I love hunting. I love anything that has adrenaline to do with it. And then I get in the military and they're like, why don't you try airborne? And at the time I was much leaner than I am now. I went in at about 265, got out of basic at 235, of course, went right back to 265.
Yeah.
And we get to airborne school. And when you put on the parachute, like I'm right underneath the maximum weight.
Because what's the maximum weight?
Oh, like 300 something pounds.
Okay.
Right. So, I jump out of the airborne, we go to airborne school. We're in the airplane. We're going to do our jumps. There's a 15-man iteration. I'm number 15. And any of you Army guys or anybody that's been in the airborne school, they tell you if you're falling faster than your fellow jumper, pull your reserve. So my first jump, I'm number 15. I jump out of the airplane and my chute opens and I look up, everything's good. And then I'm watching everybody else just like, I'm just going fast, right? Heading to the ground like it's just nobody's business. And I slam into the ground. And I lay there and I'm going, oh shit, okay, nothing's broken. And I hear, remember a bullhorn?
Yeah.
Back playing football and you hear the boom, right? I hear the bullhorn turn on and one of the Sergeant Airborne's goes, that hurt, didn't it, Guidry? He said, we were expecting you to land even harder. So we do all the jumps at airborne school, which is 5 jumps. I jump out number 15. I hit the ground first every single time. But my chute's open and I'm it's just normal.
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson there, but I've got a bunch of free fall skydives as well. And I don't know.
So those are all statics.
Those are all, static line.
Okay.
Right. So free fall, I've got a bunch of 15,000 or whatever they want to call it. And then some low hop and pops and stuff.
What is a low hop and pop?
Hop and pop is like 5,000 feet. You jump out, pull your chute.
I was say, yeah, you don't get much time.
No. So
I've jumped 3 times tandem, right?
Yeah.
Like just doing the tandem jumps
yeah,
with
man,
guys.
you got to do it by yourself, man.
I know. So my dad did back in the day. He was the one that got me excited about it. Like back when I was a kid, and he got it to the point where he was jumping on his own, had his own chutes, and like joined a club and, you know, did all that. And then I was 19 when I got to go jump tandem the first time. And then I did it out in Hawaii once because I wanted to jump out over the ocean.
Never done it there, man.
That was cool as fuck. I was in Kauai,
Yeah.
and we got to jump out over the ocean and come back, and that was sweet. And then my buddy, Skip Kingery, he owns a big solar company out in California.
Okay.
He and I met each other in a mastermind about 4 or 5 years ago. Turned out before he got into solar, he was a professional skydiver, like doing like the record breaking, you know, like world record shit, right?
Yeah.
And so we were actually doing podcasts, and we went to go do a California tour, and I called Skip and I was like, hey man, let's do an episode. I'm like, and he's like, you want to jump? And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's jump. So I get there and he's like, so today, he goes, we're going to actually skydive. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm like, isn't that just jumping out of a fucking plane?
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, man. He's like, we're going to jump out with other people and do a formation.
Heck yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Whole nother thing.
Right. Like that was super cool. So like we got really good footage of it, but so like I couldn't fly with him. I had to have a little guy.
Yeah.
Right. But then like a gal that he knew and him, and we all jumped out, and like that bitch was fucking coming at me feet first. And like, I got to grab her fucking feet and they're twisting around. And I'm like, that's a skydive, right?
Yeah,
like that was super cool. I'd love to be able to do more of that.
It's jumping out when you're by yourself, right? So they have something, I think I told you the other day, because like you do scuba diving.
Yep.
And me and the scuba diving thing, or no, it just fucks with my brain, and I don't know why. I can free dive,
Yeah.
but the whole tank underwater thing's not my thing. But
Which blows my mind that you can free dive, but like not dive on air.
I don't know, man. I've just heard, because I used to work offshore, right?
Sure.
And I'm watching these guys go down 500-600 feet working in the bell and stuff
well, I
like
ain't
that.
doing that, but
And I've seen an accident down there.
Sure.
Like if something happens down there,
You're done.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe 40 feet might be different. I've never tried that, but I've free dove down to 50 foot. That's the deepest I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
I've been able to stay down there 30 minutes. But like the skydiving stuff, when you're jumping by yourself and you're just out in the air, it's a little different, right? It's just total peace for me, at least. And I haven't done it in a long time since the hip replacement, but it's just amazing. So I do the indoor skydiving here in Katy, right?
What's that like?
It's if you've anybody that's never really jumped out of an airplane like you have, or wants to experience what it feels like, go do that first. Right? Get that kind of feeling, and then if you want to go from there, go do a tandem.
Yeah.
And then they have advanced free fall school, which is only one day.
Okay.
Right? Like you can go in the morning at Space Coast down there. You go in the morning and you take a class the rest of the day, and you jump by yourself, meaning like the instructor's by you.
Yeah.
And he'll make sure everything's good, and he pulls your chute. And then after that, the next one, there's like, cool, you check off, bye.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's anybody that's any type of cognizant about how to do things.
I think my big concern is always like figuring out how the fuck to land where you're supposed to land.
So that is actually not that difficult.
Really?
Yeah, no, I mean, steering left, right, and then flaring. The biggest part that I had a problem with is I'm a big guy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm coming in, I had an oversized parachute. I'm still coming in at 40 miles an hour. So if you don't flare at the right time, you're gonna get, you and the earth are gonna get a real close connection.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but really, it's not that bad, man.
So how long did you serve, or how long were you in the military?
I was signed for 6 years. I got hurt at 4 years. I got a hip replacement, a few other things. You know what I mean?
I got 2.
Yeah. Oh God, I wish I'd have never done mine.
Really?
I did mine in the military, and here's my unlucky story with that: is I got hurt stateside. We did a jump. I did something to it, and I was in combatives training. I went and trained a little bit, and it got hurting so bad the next morning I couldn't move my leg and all kind of stuff. I had torn my labrum, torn my hip flexor, torn a couple things in my back. It was just one of those freaky things that happened, and so it was just an immense amount of pain. And then the pain kind of started to go away. You tried to do it, and they said, well, no, you need this partial hip replacement. So I don't have a full hip replacement.
Oh.
So they did, they recovered my femur head, which was, instead of being nice and round, it was flat, and femur was fractured, a bunch of stuff. So I walk in, and they said, well, we're going to do it in Seattle. They shipped me down to Seattle. I was in the military at the time. And it's a learning environment, right? So these guys are walking around these butter bars and whatever. So the colonel walks up, he said, look, I've done 500 of these surgeries, you're good, so on and so forth. The next day I wake up after the surgery, and apparently I come out of anesthesia very aggressively.
Okay.
They had to put me back under because I actually punched a nurse and pulled a bunch of stuff out. It wasn't a bad thing. So I woke up a couple days later, and the fucked up part about that is I woke up, they had already taken my catheter out. And I'm like, my stomach hurts so fucking bad. What's going on? And the nurse comes in and goes, you haven't urinated. You've been sleeping. Shit, your catheter needs to go back in. So I woke up from all this other shit and pain to them going, hey, sorry.
Oh, fuck you.
Right? Felt everything, bro. It was. So they put it back in, immediate relief, right? So it sucked going in. And then after it's all done, they're like, hey, we got to take it out again.
What?
This is 20 minutes later. So anyway, so all that happens, and I finally get a little lucid, and the doc walks in. And so it's funny. The doc walks in, a priest walks in, and then my buddy who came down with me walks in. And I'm thinking to myself, like, something major's happening. I'm dying.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm still kind of out of it. And the doc's talking, the priest is praying, my buddy's looking at me, rubbing my foot. I'm like, I looked at the doctor and said, hey, what the fuck happened, bro? And I said those exact words. And he said, look, the surgery was supposed to take 2 hours. It took 7. They put a post in my groin, right? And they take your leg, just for your hip. You know how they did.
Yeah.
They put a post in your groin, they rotate you 45 and up, and they separate the hip and yada, yada. So they had a brand new lieutenant. I was his very first one.
Cool.
Yeah, super awesome. So while he was in there, he cut 2 nerves that he wasn't supposed to cut. And then it crushed my nerve that controls your groin and all the other stuff. They crushed that. That didn't work anymore. And then come to find out, because of all that, I had major problems with my nerves in my back. So I couldn't move my leg.
What in the actual fuck?
So the doc's telling me all these things, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, well, fuck you. And I started freaking out. And the priest reaches down and he goes, it's okay, son. And I'm not Catholic and, whatever. I believe in God. And I looked at him and said, fuck you too.
Yeah.
My buddy said the same. I said, hey, fuck all of y'all. I said, you telling me I can't move my leg and I might not ever because some jackass fucked up? And then I said, where's he at? Right. So I'll hop in.
My arms still fucking work.
Yeah, come see. So that all went down like that. And it was crazy, man, because I had no feeling in my leg whatsoever. I still have got neuropathy on the outside a little bit. And so like 6 months, I went into this just depression, like super bad depression. Sat there just, man, I'm a big guy. I love food. So what do? I sit down, play video games. I ballooned up to like 400 pounds.
Stop it.
Yeah, man. And just horrible, right? Just felt horrible about myself. And this lady came out of nowhere. I mean, I'm stationed in Alaska now. So it's snowing outside. It's just, you can't go out, do anything. I'm an outdoorsy guy. And Tanya comes and meets me at the unit one day. And she goes, hey, my name's Tanya Smith. I've heard about you through so-and-so. I'm a hip and lower back specialist. I would like to use you as my
guinea pig.
Yeah, basically. But what do they call it when they get published or whatever?
Oh.
I want to do an article on you or something like that. And I told her, I was like, look, they told me this is fucked. I'm sorry. And I told her no. She came back every day for 3 weeks. Come talk to me. She told me, I know I can help you. This is going to be some different things and so on. So finally I told her, all right, crazy lady, I'll give you a shot. Right. And I couldn't, at this point,
At that point, what'd you have to lose, right?
I had drop foot, right? I couldn't move my foot. And
shit.
Going from being a professional athlete to being like soldier of the cycle and basic training, like super hua guy. Like just, I love fighting. I was cage fighting at the time, all that other stuff.
Now you're 400 pounds and can't walk.
Yeah, right? Just like, fuck me. So I go with her and I told her, I said, well, what is it? So here's the thing. So 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, right? You're going to be at my physical therapy office, and we're going to be doing all this different stuff. Dry needle therapy, acupuncture, meditation, all these different things, right? Without any more surgery. Because what they wanted to do is they wanted to go back in, try and reconnect some of the nerves that the jackass cut. Mm-hmm. And then they had to suture back my hip flexor, right? So all that stuff was all messed up. I told him, I was like, if it's not going to fix it, even if there's a 1% chance, I don't want to fight it. I need a better chance. So one day, it's like 6 months after being with her, I'm starting to move my leg around now, and I started to get feeling, and then I got to walking again with crutches.
Yeah.
Right. So you never realize how people, I was in a wheelchair the whole time. You never realize how people that are in wheelchairs, how limited access is.
Sure.
Right. So I got a real good appreciation for people that have been in wheelchairs their whole life. But so after that, man, walking around on crutches, drove back from Alaska by myself on crutches, right? Loaded everything up, drove back to Louisiana, and then went from crutches to one crutch to a cane. And then 2014, right before I met my wife, I looked at the cane. I was like, screw it. If I got a limp, I got a limp. I'm tired of carrying this thing around. So
that was in 2000 what?
2014.
Okay.
So that was two and a half years after the accident.
Okay.
Right.
And then that was when you met your wife?
Yep. Met my wife December 19th, 2014 at 8:30 p.m.
So you mentioned that was that during your kind of like your lowest point was in 14?
2014. So I was previously married, right?
Okay.
So 2012 is when everything happened. Because when I joined the military, it was a choice. I joined at 26 years old. And it was one of those things where, you know what, I've been wanting to do this. I felt that I needed to do this. This is going to be my life, right? I want to be in this for a career. I've got a bunch of family that did that. And I was dead set on it. And when that happened, it just absolutely crushed me.
Right. You lost your identity.
Exactly. Just didn't know who I was. And I used to be the guy like, just get up from right here, take off running down the street, no problem.
Right.
You want to pick up the back of a car? I'm that guy.
Right. You want to pick up the back of a car? I'm that guy. Fuck.
Yeah, man. I've always wanted to be the guy. Like, I don't need to look like I can pick up a bunch of weight. I want to actually be able to
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I got back in 2013 and we were just trying to figure out what it was. We started the tree service and trying to figure out how to be a businessman and, on crutches and a cane and being that big. So I started kind of training a little bit, getting back in the gym.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, I used to go to a place in Lafayette, Louisiana. It's Red Laurel's. It's an amazing gym if you ever get a chance to go to it. I know everybody there. I've been going there since I was 12. I wouldn't go back. I was so out of shape. I went to Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
I put my hoodie on.
Yeah.
And until I got to a point where I could walk back in the gym without crutches, I would not go back.
Yeah.
So, but like my lowest point in my entire life, and I think I told you about this, is I sat down, my ex-wife and I were fighting a lot. It was a bad relationship. She was very mentally abusive, right? I had 4 kids with her. I love my kids, but something just wasn't right. I wasn't talking to people, right? So this is before I had gotten into therapy and kind of worked out some of those demons. And one day, man, I sat down on the edge of the bed, put a gun in my mouth, pulled the trigger, and the bullet didn't go off.
Stop.
I swear. I still got the bullet in the safe. Sat there. I wrote the notes. I did the whole thing.
And you were just done.
I was done, right? I was 400 or 385 pounds. I was in pain so bad every day, depressed, anxious. Business was, it was okay. We were making a living, because back in 2015, everything's kicking. So we were making decent money.
Yeah.
But the money wasn't making me happy. Buying motorcycles wasn't making me happy. I wanted a better home life.
How old are your kids?
So now I have a stepson. He's 22 years old. He's my boy, right? His dad has never been in the picture, so he's my boy.
Yeah.
And then my other 4 kids are 20, 17, 14. He's about to be 15.
How old were they then during that moment?
So 2014, Caleb was probably
10 years ago.
Yeah, he was 12 years old, something like that. My oldest was 12.
Oldest was 12. Youngest was
like 2. And my last one's that baby girl.
Okay, so I want to know, because I think that people want to know when you're, because I've been fucking down.
Yeah.
Right. I have been down. I had moments when and I tell this story all the time on stage when I was like at my end of using, a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, a lot of, whatever. And I remember like looking up and being like, fucking, how do I stop? Right.
That's right. I need to stop the free fall.
But I got to a point where I didn't care if I lived or died. Right.
Yeah.
I didn't care anymore. I was like, fuck it. Whatever happens, happens. More Coke, please.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to enjoy this run until it fucking ends. Right.
That's it.
But your story takes it to a whole nother step where your mind went everybody that's around me, well, it's one of two things, right? And I guess I'd like to know which one it is. Everybody around me will be better off if I'm not here, or it's I just can't stand the feeling and the pain that I'm dealing with anymore, and that's it.
So it's
because having kids, I put myself in that position. I don't know how I'd have that conversation with myself. So I'm curious what that conversation sounded like in your head, because you're obviously having it with yourself.
Yeah, writing the letters was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, right? And not to say that since then there's a part of me that still thinks about that stuff, right? I've just grown to a part where I'm strong enough to tell that part to get fucked, right? And have you listened to Cameron Haynes' book at all? Joe Rogan kind of talks about, Cameron Haynes is a world-renowned archery hunter.
Okay.
And he talks about your inner bitch, right?
Yep.
Everybody's got it,
Yep.
right? At that point in life, I was hurting so bad. And look, your hips probably still hurt a little bit, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, when it gets cold like this, my body feels better.
Oh.
I'm weird.
That is
right?
weird.
But in the heat, it feels worse.
Weird.
Yeah, that's why I hate Louisiana. I'm trying to get to Tennessee, but it's one of those things where I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
And I felt like, my ex-wife and I had no relationship, no physical relationship.
So you were alone.
I was alone, right? And, my parents are great parents. I was talking to my dad about it, but he's one of those old school hard dads, right?
Yep.
Like, oh, you just put it in the drawer, you shut the fuck up, and you leave it alone.
Sure.
Right? Couldn't really talk too much to anybody else, but it was one of those things, again, where it's just like, I just wanted so bad to have a relationship where I could come home, tell my wife, this is how I feel, and she would help. And it wasn't there. I love my kids. I don't want anybody to think that I didn't.
Yeah, of course.
There was a point where I just couldn't take it anymore. And I'm laying there, like you look at a well, I was at the bottom of the well and the light was so small. I was like, well, why even try? It's so far away. Happiness is so far away. Why even try? So I wrote all the letters and I organized a bunch of stuff and sat down, and when I heard click, it just misfired? Yeah, soft strike. And this is, yeah, I got rid of the gun, right? I took the gun apart. I took it with me and I gave it to a buddy of mine. Didn't tell him anything about it. He still doesn't know to this day. Well, he will after he watches this, apparently. And I kept the bullet just as a little reminder that look, as long as I can look up and see any type of light, I don't care if it's a pin in the distance, right? Then there's a chance for me to climb out, right? Because they told me I wouldn't walk again without a cane. Well, fuck you, I'm doing that. Yeah. Right? I deadlifted 815 pounds 4 years ago or 3 years ago now. I don't do that anymore. That was me being stupid. Yeah. Right. I paid for that for a minute.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Paid for that for a minute. But those thoughts come in my head where it's like, man, it's getting hard. Do I really need to be here? Right. Because at the point I had $1 million life insurance policy on myself. My kids would have been just fine. Right. That's the way I was thinking. Well, they'll be good. I'll miss them. They'll miss me. But then life will go on. Yeah. Right. So, and I've had other, buddies of mine commit suicide, and it was just like, why? And then when I finally got to that point and realized,
like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, I understand now. Right. So that's why, like, when people ask me, hey, how you doing today? And I tell them I'm blessed to be breathing. Every day I get to breathe, I'm blessed. Yeah. Right. So I try to be a good person like that every day. I'm not perfect, but try and help people.
So as I talk to you and as I look at you, like, you smile a lot, right? Which I love that, right? I have this overwhelming feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm totally making shit up. I have absolutely nothing to fucking base this off of, okay? Yeah. Absolutely nothing. But were you, when you were younger or back in your days, whatever, were you angry fighter, fucking start shit fucking guy?
I'm that guy.
Okay.
Right. So when I was a big kid, I
just see this progression, right? I see this progression as like this big mean motherfucker that loves fighting, starting shit, ending shit. Yep. You know what I mean? Like I see, and then I see this progression that I'm very interested in this story of like how Jacob got to where he is now, to the point where, and we've already been talking about this, right? Yeah. But I can just, I can see it in your face, man. Right? Yeah. That you're a different human than you were. Not just I've changed and I'm better. And you know what I mean? Like there's something to be said for people that not only change, but like literally they have this like mental, spiritual awakening where they're like, I'm not that fucking person anymore. Well, look, am I wrong?
No, you're very right. Actually. Okay. So I'm not that hard to read. Most people can guess that, right? If you look at my life, right? I grew up, I was the big, chunky, fat kid.
Yep.
I was always the shortest, fattest kid all the way up until 10th grade.
Okay.
So I got beat up my entire life, right? My dad didn't want me to fight because he knew that if I hit somebody, I was going to hurt. I was a big kid.
Yeah.
Right. But I was never tall. I was always fat, had big, ugly glasses. And then from 10th to 11th grade year, I grew almost a foot.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Came back.
That had to hurt.
Yeah. I still remember waking up in the morning and my knees. I was like, man, what the fuck is going on? And then you get up and go. But, I left the 10th grade year, came back the 11th grade year. I was taller. The first day of school, I walked up to the kid that had always beat me up. Right. Because during that summer, I'm growing. I told my daddy, like, I'm tired of getting beat up. Please teach me how to fight. I heard all these stories of my daddies, my uncles, all military guys. My uncle's where my dad was. My dad played college and pro football. Of them just, getting in fights at bars. And like, I want to know how to fight.
Right.
Teach me. So him and my uncle showed me how to fight. So I'll walk up to this first guy and I'm like, hey, you used to beat me up. Remember that? Yeah, no, come here. You're first. I was the kid with a list. Swear to God. I had names. Right. And then after the fourth kid that I broke his eye socket and his nose, we're friends now.
Stop.
I swear to God. Yeah. I mean, I'm cordial with everybody I can possibly, even old guys that used to mess around and beat me up. Right. But I got off the bus and the mama was there. The police were there. And my dad's first words were, did you win? That was it. Right. And we went into the principal's office. The principal was fussing at me. And at that time you could still spank kids. And I was like 15-year-old. He said, I'm going to paddle you. And my dad looked at me. I looked at him and said, you pick up that paddle, I'm going to break it on your head. To the principal. So the principal asked me to leave. He tells my dad, we're going to ask you to take your son out of the school. We're not going to expel him because my dad had donated a ton of money to the school.
Right.
And built a bunch of stuff. And so they asked me to leave. So I went to public school. First day in public school, I got in a fight. Football coach sees me and says, hey, you're gonna come hang out with me. I never played tackle football in my life. This is my senior year. Right.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Oh, you're this fucking guy. Oh, God. I played my whole life and I can't get to the level that you fucking got to, you cocksucker.
I was blessed, but I mean, I had a lot of good people around me and I was still like, you ever watch a big puppy dog, like a basset hound with ears, they tripping over themselves? Mm-hmm. I was always that kid and I really didn't come into my athletic ability until I got to college.
Okay.
Right. So I played high school football, made all state, did all that fun stuff, had a blast. And we went to Michigan University. Used to have those mega camps, right?
Yeah.
Like 2,000 players.
Yep.
And so Michigan offered me, and a few other schools offered me, but I wanted to be a Tiger, so I walked on at LSU. I turned down all the offers, and I went as a walk.
You got an offer from Michigan, but you had to walk on at LSU. Mm-hmm. Fuck. Okay.
They told me I was small. I went in at 6'2", 220, and I was a small tight end. Because they recruited other guys that were 6'5".
Okay. Yeah.
That was 2001-ish. That was when the tight end era started. People started getting taller.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So, but yeah, we started doing all that. But I was definitely that guy, man. Like, and then in college, shoot, I fought every day on the football field.
Yeah.
Every day to earn a spot.
Did you love it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I love fighting.
Yeah.
Like it's the closest thing to sex to me.
Right.
Like it's just that adrenaline rush.
Yep.
You get that tingle in your fingers before I'm about to throw a fist. Everything kind of tightens up and this is going to be a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm not the baddest dude in the world, but I had fun doing it. And I had a chip on my shoulder. You know what I mean? I had a lot to prove. But yeah, no, I've changed since then, man. It went from that to being trying to be a badass in the Army. And there's much badder people out there than me, right? That have done many more things than me. And, I had a good time there. But then at a certain point, I looked back and I was like, you know what? All this anger is for what?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then after all the suicide attempt and all that, I changed a lot. The heart attack a couple of years ago really is that's what kind of flipped.
Fuck, did you have a heart attack?
After Hurricane Ian, man.
Really?
Yeah, I had a little thing. Remember SVG was here in Dallas, right? I had a little.
Yeah, I stopped going a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
he's a cocksucker to me.
Hopefully the new guys can turn it around, But had a little something happen. We were up in the room, and I was like, man, it feels weird. My wife's a nurse. She's like, well, we called the EMT. They checked it out, and they said, look, you got some kind of arrhythmia or whatever the fuck they call it. And then I passed out. And they woke me up. And they're like, okay, well, your blood pressure got super duper low. We're going to check you out. They checked me out. They said, well, you might have had a minor incident, whatever they called it. And then we went to Hurricane Ian, which was a phenomenal storm for us. That was our like breakout storm.
Did you actually get paid?
I did.
Okay, because nobody else did.
That's because cash work, man.
Yeah.
I did 10 insurance jobs. We got collected 9 of them.
Yeah.
Which for trees is very difficult these days, which anywhere is. But then a company, ARS Gem, have you heard of them?
Yep.
Yeah, they hired me, and we did a bunch of work for them.
And got paid by them?
And got paid.
Okay, because I've definitely heard other stories of.
Yeah, but look, we can go down that road a lot. I got like $4.5 million owed to me from motherfuckers that better be happy that I'm not that person.
I'm just impressed that you got paid.
Yeah, no, they did pay me, and we moved on, and that's what has boosted our expansion. Yeah. So, but December 19th, 18th, we went to a good friend of mine's birthday party, and I hired 2 midgets to come in. I hired a midget stripper. She was yay tall. And then I hired a midget angry elf. We're in December. So I called this place in Miami.
Yeah.
Right. Remember Wolf of Wall Street, the throw in the midgets? You can do that. Like for real.
Really?
Yeah. There's a whole thing, man. So I told him, I said, man, I need an angry elf and a midget stripper. So we hire them and they get there, and this midget stripper was just the funniest little thing. The angry elf would walk around. He grabbed every set of tits in that whole place, and not one guy smacked him. And he goes to reach at my wife. So I'm like, hey, whoa. She goes, oh, he can. I say, just because he looks like a kid doesn't mean that he's a kid.
Yeah.
But it was just hilarious. The next morning I woke up and I was like, man, that weird feeling's back again. And then my arm went completely numb, started hurting really bad. And I tapped my wife, and it was like 6:30 in the morning. I said, man, I feel something's wrong.
Yeah.
She goes, oh, because normally if I sleep on my side, like my arm hurts, right?
Yeah.
So she goes, I'll just stretch out. It's just another thing. And I stretched and immediately like screamed, and it felt like somebody shot me. I looked at her and she goes, man, you're kind of pale. And right then I felt like somebody parked a truck on my chest. So I sat down. She calls the ambulance. Our assistant Missy was there. They're talking to me and so on, and everything's kind of happening in slow motion for me, probably really fast for them. And then my wife tells me, hey, the ambulance told me I have to go outside to meet them because they can't find the house. So Missy comes running in the room, and I looked at my wife when she left. I said, just make sure the kids are okay. That's it. That's all I remember saying. And I remember looking at Missy, and I told Missy, she needs help. Just make sure she's okay. And I passed out. And my heart stopped apparently for 5 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the max.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So they got me back. I don't remember much of it. I remember riding in the ambulance a little bit, screaming because it hurt so bad.
So they got you back before you got in the ambulance?
Yeah. So they got me back, got in the ambulance. They loaded me up in the ambulance, and they gave me a bunch of nitro, which was supposed to calm it down or whatever. I just remember it hurting. We got to the ER, and they give me a bunch of morphine, and then I don't remember.
So no crazy fucking white light stories when you're dead for 5 minutes?
No, man. I don't remember anything like that.
I think that the lesson there is that midgets cause heart attacks.
Apparently, right?
I think that's, I'm not going to lie, midgets creep me the fuck out.
And they do my buddy as well. My buddy Danny does not like midgets. I mean, he's a shorter guy, right?
I don't know what it is,
That's
man.
why I
It's
got
not, I mean, good on you. It's kind of like how people are like freakishly afraid of clowns.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, that's not me. I don't give a fuck about clowns.
Yeah, me neither.
But man, you run a midget into a fucking room with me, and like,
good to know.
I'm going to turn around and like fucking run.
I got to find out when your birthday is.
And I don't, but again, I don't know, like, I don't know why. I don't know where it stems from.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea, but they creep me the fuck out. I don't know if it's their little arms or like what it fucking is.
Dude, the midget stripper, she didn't strip, right? She just walked around.
Okay.
And she walked around with a, the little.
Was she like half naked though?
No. She wore a little police officer outfit.
Okay.
It really wasn't a stripper.
Yeah.
She walked around, she had a little whip, and she whipped the shit out of everybody. And everybody was just giggling and laughing, and I'm just having a blast. My buddy Danny was like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. He took a picture with him. He's like, all right, that's enough. And they were there for 2 more hours. So we tortured him for 2 hours. Maybe that's my penance. I got tortured.
It might be, yeah. But I think that the lesson here, folks, is that midgets cause heart attacks. So fucking just keep fucking midgets.
That's right.
The fuck out of the room. So last thing I kind of wanted to finish up on was something that you had messaged me about that was important to you. and it's something that's important to me too. And I want to kind of read it verbatim, but trying to teach men how to be men, not the pussified shit that they're trying to shove down our throats these days. Yeah, and when you say trying to teach men, what does that mean? Like, are you actively doing something, or is it just as I meet people, I tell them to stop being a bitch?
Well, my immediate circle, right, has melded or molded over the years, just like yours has, right? High school friends don't exist anymore, Correct. So on, right? So when I meet guys that are acting a certain way, or they're whatever, right? Some of these military guys especially, I can put up with enough poor me, right? Like, everybody deserves, if something happens bad to you, you deserve the time to have that spot where
to
you're
mourn
like,
or learn
everything's against me and so on.
Right.
But you have to put a hard backstop. Yep. Right? And I learned that, recently I did a DMT thing a couple of years. Well, after the heart attack, I did a DMT. You know what that is? No. So it's an extreme hallucinogenic therapy.
Oh, yeah. Right? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So I've done that.
How was that?
That I saw the light. Like, I saw the whole
really?
afterlife, and brother, like, if you
okay, let's. What was the actual experience? So it wasn't like a ayahuasca. It wasn't
not ayahuasca. So straight. It's called bufo. It's the poison off the back of a frog.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Smoke it. You ever done mushrooms or acid?
I mean, not for 20 years.
Okay, so you can remember.
But I did.
Acid's pretty intense, right?
Yeah.
Long.
Yeah.
DMT is like acid times 1,000,000 in 30 minutes. Right.
Fuck.
Yeah. Like, you breathe it in, and when you lay back, you take that last breath and you lay back, you're in a whole nother dimension.
Okay.
Right. And they call it the death of the ego. And before I went in, it was one of those things where I had just come from a bad meeting. I had met this little hippie couple, and I can give you the backstory another time, but I had met them a year prior, and just yada, yada, yada. And I called Megan up, and I told my wife, I said, I have to try something. I've taken every Xanax, every Valium. Yeah. I feel depressed. These people say that this might help. I'm going to go try it. I went and smoked and did the ceremony, and it was intense. So I have a tattoo in the back of my calf. It's me as a bad guy, right? So this is my bad guy. He's always there if I need him. Okay. He can do evil shit if I need to do evil shit, but I keep him put away.
Yeah, he's in a room.
That's right. Somebody attacks my family, he gets to come out.
Yep.
That kind of thing. So when I went into this other space, he was there, and me and him, it felt like I was gone for a year, and me and him fought the whole time. And it was all grays and blacks and nasty, just evil, bad stuff, right? And I dealt with a bunch of other demons that were in my life, right? So the bad part of me. And at a certain point, Megan, who is one of my really amazing friends, and she's got a whole business that she serves this medicine, and it is medicine.
So Megan's your friend?
Yes.
Who's your wife?
Carlos.
Okay, sorry. You said Megan and then wife, and sorry. Okay.
No.
So I was getting confused. So
I told Carlos. Okay. Carlos is my wife. I told her, I said, baby, I got to try something.
Got it. Okay.
She said, go do it. Megan is.
So Megan's your friend that facilitates this experience.
Yeah, she goes all over the world.
Okay.
Does this. So she was just in Alaska. They're going to Peru.
But like, she runs it as like a spiritual experience, not as like, hey, let's go get fucked up and see what happens.
Exactly. Gotcha. So it's not that kind of thing. And trust me, anybody that does DMT for recreation is way past help.
Right. So how long does it last?
So you're in and out in under 30 minutes.
But it feels like
years. Like, if you ever get a chance to go listen to Mike Tyson talk about it, he's done it a couple times. I've done it 3 times.
3?
Yes. In
spaced out how far?
Every 6 months or so.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's recommended?
No, it's one of those things where I reach a point where it's like, okay, there's some contention in my soul.
Okay.
And contention in my life. I'm starting to have those bad feelings again.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason that I might not be able to explain. So I'll talk to Megan and I'll go in and I'll do it. And not everything's a full dose. Like, a full dose is a lot. But the 3 times I've done it, the last one was a half dose. And it just opens your mind and your body up and your soul up to good things, right?
So it's not like ayahuasca where you're puking and shitting and coming on the floor.
No, it's not.
Have you heard those stories?
Yes.
Like, I got buddies that have done that. And they're like, yeah, I was laying there and I fucking pissed and I shit and then I jerked off and I didn't know it. And like, I just came and I'm like, what the fuck? Why do you want to? And I'm like, wait, are you by yourself? They're like, no, everybody's in the room. I'm like,
a group of 20 people.
I'm like, there's 20 people in a room and you're just jizzing all over the fucking room for no good goddamn reason. Like, I don't think I want to do that.
I've looked into it. I think I will actually do that. And there's a place in Costa Rica that Megan recommended. recommends. But
Peru's supposed to be amazing.
Peru, that is, and it's the same people that own one in Peru and Costa Rica.
It is. So, okay, got you.
But so the DMT thing really has opened up my mind to accepting more things that I can't control. I always wanted to control everything because I couldn't control anything when I was younger. Right. I still look in the mirror like most athletes do, and I still see the kid that could do whatever. Right.
Yes.
And I realized that that's not that no more. So when I was in there, though, Megan told me before you go in, there's going to be a point where you're going to feel like this is a bad spot. You have to just say, okay, I accept everything. I let go of everything, and whatever God's will or the universe's will is, that's what it is. And that point was I was fighting my bad self, and I couldn't win. I looked at him, and I felt I wasn't breathing. I felt like I was dying. And it felt the same way as the heart attack felt, not the pain, just this is nothing else, right? And so I remember saying, okay, I'll let go. And right when I said that, that little light that was behind my bad guy went from way over there. He smiled at me, disappeared, and I was in this whole nother place. And it was all pinks and purples and the most peace I've ever felt. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm dead. Like, that's it. Like, okay, I'm at peace. And then right after that, I was back in my body, and I sat up and I looked at Megan and I just busted out crying. Just all these emotions came out, and I looked around, and we're sitting outside, right? I looked around, and the first thing I saw was her, and I looked at the grass, and there was a little bitty caterpillar crawling across this flower, and it was pulsing, and he got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then he disappeared, right? I don't know what that means, but
it wasn't real.
It wasn't real. Right. And then I came out of it, and it was stone cold sober 20 minutes later.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would recommend it to everyone. I've talked to a friend on the phone last night. She's been thinking about doing some ayahuasca stuff. And I told her, I said, that's a big journey. It's a much more feminine medicine, meaning like it's going to pull every emotion you ever never wanted to pull out of you. It's going to pull out of you.
That's ayahuasca.
That's ayahuasca. This DMT is more masculine, and it makes you deal with all these demons that you fight in your head.
Yeah.
You have no choice. They're there. They're in front of you, and you got to fight them all. That was my experience, right? Some other guys.
Is that other people's experience?
A lot of people see the holy geometry and stuff like that, the triangles and, the hippie stuff, right?
Okay.
Right.
Do you kind of find what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is why your hippies are going to find what the hippies are looking for, and the Jacobs are going to find what the Jacobs are looking for. If you have a question,
it's gonna force that answer. In a direction, right? I went in the second time, and my question was, because I wanted to just make sure. My biggest thing is my kids. If my kids are safe and taken care of, I don't care what else I got to do in this world. Yeah. That's what I got to do. And I went in, I said, I just want to know my kids are going to be safe growing up. And I went into this thing, and it wasn't like the last time. It was much more peaceful. And towards the end of it, I come around this, I'm walking, I looked, and around the corner, I see all my kids, and they're all holding these big bags of money, standing in front of a big house, and they're all smiling. My wife's there smiling, everybody's smiling, and I came out of it again. Pow! That was right there. That was the question. He answered, right?
So you go in with an intention.
That's right.
You go in with an intention and or a question or whatever. Right. Almost need a question.
That's right. So the third time was, I guess I got tired of dealing with these pussy ass dudes around everywhere. Guys that when I shake your hand, if I tell you this is my word, this is what I'm going to do, you don't have to worry. That's what's going to happen, right? That doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't.
Very rarely.
Yes.
Right. So I got tired of that shit, and I finally lost it on one of my friends, and I told him, I said, hey man, like if you tell me you're going to do X and you do purple. It doesn't even exist in the same realm.
Right.
And we don't need to be friends anymore. I don't need that much.
Dude, I would love to fucking dig into this just a little bit more before we end, because something that I have instituted, I did a whole, I can't remember, half of the fucking podcast with Rabowski, I think was a little bit about this. But in my business, one of our fucking core values, and one of the things that I talk about when I'm on stage, when I'm talking about the team method, right? Which is instilling trust, empathy, authenticity, and meaning into your people and your company to build the culture that you're trying to build. And people ask me, how do you instill trust? And my answer every fucking time, and that I teach at my company in every fucking meeting that we have, is if you say you're going to do something,
fucking do it.
Fucking do it.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're a liar, which means I can't trust you. Right? So if you say you're going to do something and then you can't, then you have a conversation to say, hey, I'm not going to be able to do this, right? I'm not going to be on time. I'm not going to make it to that meeting. I mean, these are all like very small examples, right? But like,
I agree.
But they all roll up together, right? That's like if you can't fucking show up on time to something, this shit drives me fucking crazy. If you can't show up on time to shit, why the fuck should I trust you to do anything else?
Well, growing up, man, my dad, he told me this before I even joined the military, and it carried over. To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late.
Yes.
To be late is to be forgotten.
Yep.
Right? So that stuck with me my whole life. So I'm early for fuck it. You saw I showed up an hour early today, right? I'm early for everything. And if I can't be there early, the phone call
of course
is happening, right?
There's no such thing as on time.
No.
Because there's like, here's how long on time lasts.
Yep.
That's it. It's fucking gone. Right? It's fucking it.
1 second, right? And you're late or you're early, right? No, I totally agree, right? And then you could go into the money thing too, right? And look,
that opens a whole nother world.
I overspeak sometimes too. I dangle carrots in front of salesmen, and something happens, then that can't come to fruition, and then I've got to eat my words. So I've been very careful with how I say things lately.
Yeah,
this thing that I'm trying to grab a bunch of cranes and go up and work up north in the Pacific Northwest. I tell guys now, like, listen, it is what it is. If we get you work, when we get paid, right? I'm paying you immediately.
Yep.
If I don't get paid, then I'm going to hand you the contract. I'm going to let you go collect it, and then you pay me. I don't want the responsibility of having to go chase down your fucking money. I just don't, right? And we have all this other back checks and stuff in place. But it happens in our industry a lot where men think that these guys are honorable men, and they're just a bunch of fucking twats because they can't honor what they say.
I've pretty much just accepted the fact that most people are not honest.
Truth.
Right. And sometimes that makes me sad that I believe that. But my whole life, I think I have given people, and I still do it, but I give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong.
Yep.
But something that that is said by thousands and thousands of people, but T said it to me more than once, and it stuck, was the whole trust but verify thing, right?
Yep.
And I know that that's not fucking coined by him or whatever, but when he said it to me, for whatever reason, it just stuck and it resonated.
Yep.
And like that's kind of how I treat everyone.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, look, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I'm going to verify that you're not fucking full of shit because I automatically assume that there's a little bit of full of shit in you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I'm not, like you said before, right? Like I'm not perfect.
Yep.
But here's what I do know about myself. I know that if I fuck up or if I say something and something else happens, right?
Yep.
That it was never due to intention.
Yeah.
Right?
Something existential happened to make that happen, right?
Right. So like I know that my intention is always good. Yeah. No matter what I do, what I say, even if I get into a fucking fight with my wife, right? And she'll disagree with this, but she doesn't watch the fucking show anymore anyway.
I'll say the same thing.
Yeah, but like, and people disagree, but like, even if I'm arguing with somebody, I'm never coming from a place of that I want to hurt them. Yeah. Right? Like if you're in a fight or you're arguing or you're trying to convince somebody, like even in that moment, right? I'm still not coming from a bad place, but I feel like there's a very large majority of the world and in this industry, but all industries are shit, right? They're all laced with shitty people.
Yeah.
But the more and more and more that I get to meet the higher level people, it takes away my faith in humanity sometimes because I see these people that are succeeding, right? And I'm like, man, you got there on the back of other fucking people and fucked them in the ass with no lube, right? And it's like, so, but then you start to rethink and you're like, well, is that what I have to do then? Right? You've had that conversation with yourself, right?
I have, one thing that sticks out to me, and it's a big, very big tree service. And he told me, because in the tree service world, there was one guy that really started the insurance billable stuff.
Okay.
And then that guy taught another guy and so on. By the time it got to the guy that almost put me out of business, he took advantage of. He was, he left with $750,000. I had $5 to my name, the whole 9 yards. And one of the guys said, Jake, some of these big businesses have to step on little businesses to become big businesses. And I thought to myself, well, shit, I thought I was not a little business. I thought I was a strong enough business but I guess I am. And then now this guy's going to prison. So, right?
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope he gets fucked in the ass with no lube.
I hope he gets to be some big giant guy's girlfriend.
Yes.
That's just my own personal hope.
I like to think that it all comes back. I like to think that there is. It
doesn't always, though.
It doesn't, though. You're absolutely correct. But I like to think that even if it doesn't for the bad guy, that it does for the good guy. Yep. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. I all this bad stuff happened. He took millions of dollars from a bunch of people. And I went on this group one time on Facebook and I said, guys, I hope all of y'all get your money back. And if I get my money back, I'm going to try and spread it out between everybody. Right? Because if he just pays one of us, then everybody else is out. I'd rather be the guy he doesn't pay and then everybody else gets their money. Because I know how to go out and earn money. Money is money everywhere. You just got to figure out how to find it. Right. But no, you're right. Trust but verify. T told me the same thing. The dumb tax thing, that's another thing that I've dealt with. But I'm the same way. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I still believe in the goodness of humanity. But now it's not, you don't get to come in my circle at all until you definitely earn a spot.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's where all these young, and I told a guy yesterday, all these young entrepreneurs want everyone to like them. I don't give a shit. You don't like me, go fuck yourself. I'm still going to earn money. I'm still going to do what I want to do. We'll still be just fine. Right. But I don't have to have everybody liking me.
Right.
But I got to do the honorable thing by what's right.
I'm still going to do the right thing.
That's right. That's right. And whether you like it or not, well, that's your problem, not mine.
So I know we keep going here. This is great. I'm having a great time.
Yeah,
I'm having a really good time getting to know you. I don't even know how long we've gone. Not having a producer here. Like I never keep track. There's
no
of time.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I know. There's no fucking wrap it up, motherfucker. This is a question that I have actually been struggling with recently. And I texted a friend of mine. I actually texted Hunter Blue the other day. Sorry, Hunter, for calling you out. But I texted Hunter because honestly I didn't know who else to text this question to. And I said, so my daughter asked me the other day, because you know how kids are, right? And they're like, Sally's my best friend and Susie's my best friend and blah, 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 Everybody's best friend and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, Daddy, who's your best friend? And I went, ooh.
Yeah.
Right? And she was like, well, is so-and-so your friend? And I was like, yeah, they're my friend. And they're like, well, so-and-so your friend? And I'm like, yeah, they're my friend. And we went through this line of people that she knows that are in my life, right? And she's like, well, are they your best friend? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think back to, and I started equating it to, who do I not only trust, but trust with some of my dark shit and my alone shit.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, who do I go to for that?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're all gone. Right?
Yeah, man.
And I was like, fuck. And so that fucked me up.
Yeah. It's funny. I've had that conversation with myself more than one time. Right. And you're married. When you get married, your wife is supposed to be your best friend. Right.
And I don't believe that.
No, I don't either. Yeah. Right. There's things that she's my best friend in certain things.
Exactly.
But there's certain things that I don't want her to know. Right.
Right.
And she knows and she'll listen to this.
And not bad things.
No.
Just we don't need to make things worse because we're dealing with some shit because they want you to still be the man.
That's right.
So you don't get to come home and fucking cry and whine and piss and moan all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's times and places for it. And that woman should be that soft place to land. Right. That's my opinion.
Yep.
But I had an evaluation.
I hope Natalie watches this. Natalie, are you a soft place to land? She is not a fucking soft place to land.
Wife,
I love you, honey, but
if my wife, if you put her in a lineup, oh, I'm gonna get killed for this one. If you put her in a lineup at the jail, they'd be like, it was her.
It was her.
She's the guy that like I got in a fist fight one day at an event, a mudding event, right?
Yeah.
This kid, you know how you can tell a fighter, he's got the cauliflower ears.
Yes.
This kid,
you stay the fuck away.
Well, yeah.
Generally.
If
you're not a fighter, stay the fuck away with the guy with the ear. So
he was walking around kind of pushing people out of the way. And then there was a kid in our group that had, he's Down syndrome, right? So he's just out there having fun.
Right.
He don't care. Like, you know, I've got a cousin that's got Down syndrome. They're just full of love.
Yeah.
And this kid's out there dancing and he bumps into this fighter guy and the kid hits him. And like,
it's a kid with Downs.
Yeah. And I saw black.
Yeah.
Like I hopped off this thing. I knocked this kid out. He crawled across the mud. I walked across the mud and got on top of him. And as I hit him again, I felt a hand on my shoulder, pull me out the way, and I saw a flip flop. And it was my wife crawling on top of me to hit the guy. Right? So like, you know, young guys, if you don't have a woman, find a woman that'll go to war with you, my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? In one way or another.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
My wife will fucking go burn down somebody's house.
That's fucking
with
right.
me, right? Like she'll do that, you know, like she'll go cut somebody's fucking throat.
That's right.
And
Sparta woman, right?
Yeah, she'll do that. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't call her a soft place to land though.
Yeah, mine they have moments, right? They have these moments
They have
where
moments.
it's like,
yeah.
Mine has a soft moment. I'm like,
who the fuck are you?
Who are you? And what drug are you on?
And
right
what do
now?
you want? The fuck?
Did you buy a Louis Vuitton bag?
You did. Yep. Something fucking happened.
No, but what you're saying, man, about the best friend stuff, you know, I commented on what you posted the other day. Thank God for little girls.
Yeah.
If I had my little girl first, I wouldn't have little boys. Like I am so enthralled with her.
Yeah.
Because if I have a bad day, she's
there.
Yeah. And it's just the second she touches me, cool, everything's good. I'm good to go.
I literally answered the question. I was like, I think it's you, honey. Right? Which obviously is not true, like by my definition, but you're right, dude. That shit changes you.
Oh.
And fuck people that say it doesn't, right? Then you're a narcissist, crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
Like my little girl, when she was little and she handed me a little fake phone, like my boys would hand me that, like, yeah, man, grab the football. She hands me a fake phone and I answer the phone. And that moment she was like 2.5. I realized like, this is different. Like something changed in me big time.
You're saying having a tea party.
Yeah.
I played Barbies.
Oh, me too. I did.
When you do that though, like I'm like crass. Like my daughter knows, like don't say what daddy says.
Mine too.
But like I don't hold back generally.
See, like
and so like I'll take a Barbie and a Ken, and be like, hey, you want to fucking go back to the bedroom? And she's like, daddy, and I'm like,
see, I'll take the Ken. She's 11 now. She's about to be 12. So Barbies are kind of all the way out.
Yeah.
But like I used to take the Ken to like steal Barbie's car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I acted like a robber and stuff like that. Tie Barbie up.
Tie Barbie.
Whole nother story, guys.
How is 11 and 12?
Oh man, it's phenomenal.
Is it? Because we're right at the cusp of like they start turning shitty.
So I've got a buddy of mine that's got a few older daughters, and I asked him in front of my wife. I said, "Which one does she hate first, her or me?" He said she hates everyone first because when those hormones hit. So I made a deal with my daughter, right? And she's about to be 12. I said, "Hey, you know, when you get to be like 16, 17, and you want to be mad at somebody, just promise it won't be me."
I don't care who it is.
Yeah, I don't care who it is.
Not saying it's got to be your mom.
That's right.
Just not me.
Not me. Because that would just absolutely break. But it's going to happen, right? We're going to get, my boys are all good boys. And we've had moments with them where I've had to like, hey guys, I got to force you back on the straight line.
Right.
Grab you by the neck and say, hey motherfucker, you fucking up.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you ever seen the TikTok that says I'm in the business of raising motherfuckers?
Yeah.
Right. That's my boys. Like my oldest boy runs part of my company.
Okay.
My other son's in finance law. And then our third boy is, he's got autism, but he's super smart, like scary smart. Build computers, program kind of stuff, play any instrument. And then I've got my last boy's 14, about to be 15, and he's Mr. Football. That's all he can think, breathe, eat. He carries the football around. So like I raised strong men. Like for his workout yesterday, I told him to say, you can't go to school, go work out. There's an axe, there's some wood, go split some wood, do this, this, and this. And he gets up in the morning, takes his protein shake, and he gets shit done.
Nice.
Right? So, but we also start them, everybody in our house has a job from 10 years old on, right? There's no like free money. We don't do Christmas at our house. We do family vacations. They earn money and all that.
Love that.
But that's when you talk about best friends. I sat down like not long ago and really asked myself, who's in my corner?
Yep.
And I kind of knocked it down to 3 men.
Yep.
And then 3 women. And I said, okay, these are the 6 people that I really, really, really
You had
trust.
3 women?
3, yeah.
That weren't related to you?
my wife and 2 other ones that if I call, I know that if I call, this is my definition of a best friend. If I call you in the middle of the night and say, hey, I need you right now, click. And that person doesn't ask any questions, just gets in the truck and comes to the house, then that's that kind of person that I want in my life. Because I'm that person for a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Right? I don't ask a whole lot of questions. If you really call and I hear distress in your voice,
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Yep.
Right. Or I'll send the plane or whatever we got to do.
Yeah.
Right? So I had to really sit down, and I mean, you have acquaintances. How many people follow this? Thousands, right? I've got 2,800 people on Facebook, and I know 50 of them.
Right.
You know, and I had to really ask myself, like who's really in my corner? Like really, really.
Yeah.
Like Barry Body, kind of really.
Yeah.
Right. And I narrowed it down to 6 people.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those 6 people know it. You know what I mean? Because I'm the same person with them. If they call
I
me,
definitely don't have more than 6.
Yeah. Most people don't have, they think they do.
They think they do.
They think
like
they
if you
do.
start to be honest with yourself
Yeah.
though and realize, you know what I mean? But then I think the trick is if you identify those 5, 6 people is now what are you doing to make sure that you're nurturing those relationships, right? Because if those people are that important, what are you doing to make sure that they stay there?
Well, one of them, and I'll throw his name out here. My buddy, David Woodruff, we call him Woody, right? I met him
As one would.
Yeah, right. He's the most redneck, backwoods, Virginia, and I love this motherfucker to death. If he asks me for anything, I will help him. And it's the same way. And we talk on the phone relatively every day. But he lives in North Carolina. I live in Louisiana. So we don't see each other every day. Right. So, and sometimes we won't talk for a week because he's busy, I'm busy, yada. But I know that man has my back with no questions asked. Like what's the show, The Town, when he walks in? And, yeah, man.
I got to watch that again.
Oh, dude. I
always forget how much I love that movie.
That's a great show, man. Like, can't tell you what's going on. We're going to hurt some people. And he tells what car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that right there is the epitome of a best friend to me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of archaic, I guess you would say, but who gives a shit?
And the point of bringing it up was just like, I was just curious about if you've ever had that feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you just went, you know what I mean?
Really in my corner.
Yeah. And like, you really got to fucking think about it. And like, who's that person that I talked to? And I guess that was just me being a little vulnerable today because I've kind of kept that to myself and had a little, it was just an interesting conversation I've had to have with myself. And sometimes you get into that moment, and I'm sure that people listening and watching have like had that conversation with themselves. But I think sometimes you have to own, you know, you get to have that moment of fuck, right? But like you said, you got to have that backstop and then figure out how you're moving forward, right? But you can't move forward until you have that moment.
Yep. No,
right.
No,
so just make that moment shorter.
Well, here's the thing, and I think you will relate to this because I had to have this conversation about that when I was asking myself, like, who's really in my corner? And then I had to ask myself, do I really deserve anyone in my corner? That's the hard question. Like, are you really that kind of person where if you call somebody in the middle of the night that you deserve them to come out of their bed and come help you?
So what'd you decide?
I decided that, yes, I am in a way, but I have a lot of things to work on.
There you go. I would agree with that. For me, not you.
Well, I mean,
I don't know you well enough to judge it. Yeah.
But I mean, for real, like when you dig down deep in it, right? If that person called you, would you really go help them?
Right.
Right. Would you really in -7 or whatever it was, you know, are you going to get up and go and pull them out of the ditch?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or are you just going to call a wrecker?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I had to really.
Yeah, maybe I'm down to 3.
I started at 12.
Yeah.
I did. I was like, oh, these 12 people in my life are, and then I realized like, oh, they really wouldn't. And I really wouldn't for this person. And so I really got really serious with it. And that normally I built a river behind my house and I got this little fire pit. And when I sit out there, those are the things I reflect on. Like, how do I become a better man, first of all? Because if I'm not a good man, I can't be a good husband or a good father. Right. And then everything follows that. If I'm not good to myself, if I'm not in the right place, then everything else falls apart. The relationship, the business, everything.
Yep.
Right. And I think a lot of guys get caught up in the situation where they just don't think about that. They're going.
Yep.
And when they turn around, everything's fucked up.
And gone. And gone.
Yep. I've been there, done that.
Dude, Jacob, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I actually haven't, we've been dropping podcasts for a while, but like I haven't filmed for a while. So like I have to remember the fucking the sequence that we go in, right? But at the end of every show, I always give the floor back to the guest for the last 2 or 3 minutes just to make sure that if there was something that you came in here that you wanted to make sure that the audience heard or that I heard, that you leave them with, or something that we started on that we didn't go deep enough into that you want to like wrap up or whatever it is. I always want to give the guests that last 2 minutes to do that.
Awesome. I mean, biggest thing that we've talked about is realizing that guys, gals out there, none of us are perfect, right? Right. And none of us think truly about ourselves what we should think about ourselves. Anybody that's out there that has been in that, like you said, you've been in a dark spot, but until you get down to where you're laying on the back and it's like, just fuck it all, I don't want to do this no more. The world really is a better place with you in it. I want to say that for 99% of the people. There's 1% of the people out there that really the world's a better place without.
Agreed.
Right? So that's the reality of the matter. It's probably bigger than 1%.
And those people should just check in with us and we'll let them know.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
That'd make it a lot
There's a good
easier.
opinion there.
We can make a hotline.
No, man, you're good. Bye,
Nah,
Click.
fucking nah. You can go.
Yeah, you owe me $2 million.
Yeah, you can
Bye.
fuck off.
But
Sorry.
No, you're good. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true, man. Like, but if you really want to know what people think about you in a really, really dark sense, ask them a personal question and watch how they turn different colors. People that really, really think highly of you will tell you straight up what the fuck's up, right? If I feel a certain way about myself and I want to know the real thing, my wife has no filter.
Right.
Like her filter fell off somewhere back, but way before she met me.
Right.
And she will tell me straight up exactly how she feels. But if I want to know the deep, dark stuff about myself, I'll call Woody and say, hey, man, like this is how I'm feeling. What the fuck? Right. And he'll talk without hurting. He don't care about my feelings or nothing. Jake, this is why you're doing this. Stop being a fucking pussy. Right. And let's do this. Or you need to do this, this, and this, in my opinion. He's my brother, right? Yeah. That's the guy that I know will tell me the truth unequivocally.
Love that.
So that whole thing on TikTok, and I use TikTok, the guy that says you only need 3 motherfuckers.
Yeah.
It's really true in a sense, but we can't go through life with just 3 guys.
Right.
Right. So you got to have a circle around you, one that starts with your inner circle and then it goes out from there. Right. And it ends with acquaintances and people you don't give a shit about, but they can use you, you use them, however it works. Right.
Yep.
So,
I think the title of this episode can be How to Not Be a Pussy.
There you go. Fuck yeah, man.
I've learned that how to is a good YouTube term to fucking make on titles. So, Lexi, when you're making this, it's How to Not Be a Pussy with Jacob. Dude, thank you for being here. Thank you for driving up here. I know you had some other interviews and stuff, but I also know that this was probably the best one.
Look, man, I've been looking forward to getting on here. I watch your podcast. I watch Rogan every day. Yeah. And I watch yours every day.
Yeah.
Right. Every episode you do, because like all these other guys kind of pussyfoot around things. Right?
Yeah.
There's no point in life because there's a lot of bad shit in the world.
Yep.
And there's a lot of great shit in the world. And then all the other shit in between everybody forgets about.
Yep.
Right. It's good to not have a filter and just say fuck it and put it out there.
Yeah. I hope that we impact people.
I hope so.
Right. Like I that's always been the intention of this, is to figure out how to impact people. And we know that it's not going to be everybody.
Yeah.
Right. But if 1,000 people watch the show, can we impact 1? Can we impact 10? And I think that what's been lost, I'm going to do a fucking solo 10, 15 minute podcast on this, but I think what's been lost is people are doing things like this now solely for the attention.
Yep.
Right. And they'll get views and they'll get followers and they'll get some attention for a little while.
Yeah.
Right. Until it's figured out that they're just fucking full of shit.
Yep.
Right. Just absolutely full of shit. And it gets frustrating, let me tell you, right? On this side, like when we do this with intention to hopefully help people, right? Like this isn't about me. Right. It's truly not. Right. When I started the show, I did it selfishly to the point where like I wanted to get people in a room so I could get to know them better.
Yeah.
Right. But the other thought is like, so does everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. Because all these people, there's probably, there's hundreds or thousands of people that are out there that are like, man, I'd really like to know Jacob better, but they're not going to get an opportunity to sit down in a room with you or for whatever reason. Right. Yeah. But they get to here for an hour.
Yeah, no.
Right. And that was always my hope. And it was never, hey, you know, you can ask my team, my marketing team. I'm like, I have never said, hey, what kind of fucking clickbait post title can we make to get more people to watch this? And I think that that's probably to my detriment sometimes, right? Because I would like to be noticed by some other people in this type of industry to be able to like get some more opportunities to be able to affect more people, right? Yes. Because we didn't even talk about sobriety and all the stuff that's important in my life, you know, here, but like we get to help people with that by having a voice and having a platform, right? And I think that's sometimes to my detriment, but I think it always goes back, and this is how I'll wrap up. It goes back to the comment we were talking about, is that you can be a piece of shit for a while, but eventually being a piece of shit or a fake motherfucker, for those of you that are watching that are fake motherfuckers, like eventually it will catch up to you and you will lose. Whatever lose means, right? It's different in every circumstance, but you will eventually lose. I hope.
I mean, don't we all, right? We all know, you know, a bunch of dudes, a bunch of guys, a bunch of women that are absolute shitbags, that are millionaires, and living a phenomenal life. I know a bunch of them, and I know a bunch of them.
Well, what we perceive to be a phenomenal life.
Yeah. Well,
they're probably miserable cunts.
Yeah, but I mean, I hope I'd rather be a miserable cunt in a nice house than in a shack.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So, but with that said, I mean, man, those people still live great. I know people that live horrible lives that are amazing people. Yeah. Right. So my goal every day is if I can just affect one life, whether it's walking into a convenience store, holding the door for a lady and saying, have a nice day. She might have been going home to kill herself. And that one act of kindness stopped that for that day. That's the way I think.
I think that's real. Jacob, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, brother. Remember everybody, we don't have any fucking sponsors here. We've really tried over the years, but fucking can't get anybody. We like to say we're sponsored by Zen. We're really not. I left my can up there, so I couldn't even show it. You know who we're sponsored by? Cult Culture Movement. My fucking shit, right? We're sponsored by D&M Roofing and Cult Culture Movement. So if you're interested in learning more about our group coaching calls and want to get closer and have a better circle, reach out. We got calls a couple times a month. Got amazing dudes in there and having our first trip in April where we're doing our scuba mastermind that I can't get this pussy to go on because he's afraid of the water.
I'm gonna sit on top of the water.
You can sit on top of the water and go, but if that's something that you're interested in, again, that's who sponsors this shit, is Cult Culture Movement. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, sharing these clips, these reels, the episode. That all helps because we get to impact more people.
Amen.
We get people to hear things. Hopefully everything that we put out into the world is something that has intention behind it. It's not just to get people to watch. We want people to get something from this, to learn something from this, and hopefully become better because of it. So at the end of the day, here's what I want everybody to remember. Remember, everybody, be authentic or get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Get the fuck out if you can't be authentic. Yeah. Swipes.